Hello, and welcome to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. Each week, we're taking up a different verse from the Bhagavad Gita that illuminates a specific aspect of contemporary living. We're amidst our series on deciding, but if you want to start from the very beginning of the season, we have the link in our show notes. We also have a link to the previous episode if that's helpful. And this goes without saying, but if you're really enjoying what you're hearing and you're finding it meaningful, we would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so more seekers can come across this content. Okay, in this final section on applying Gita to decision-making, Vivekji explains a verse that reassures us that we will benefit from any decision we make. How's that even possible? Let's tune in to find out.
Hariom, and greetings from Niagara Falls. When one thinks about the Mahabharata, which is the history of Bharat, the past of India, we think of the war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. That was a defining moment in our history. We also know that the Pandavas, those who are noble, did all they could to come to a compromise, to an agreement, to peace. Bhagavan Krishna acting as a peace messenger. In all of this peacekeeping, one personality that is often overlooked is Vidura. Vidura is often known as a Mahatma. Vidura was a minister in Dhritarashtra's court who never succumbed to position. He was one of a few people who tried to stop the disrobing of Devi Draupadi. One of the few people who told Dhritarashtra that your son Duryodhana is corrupt and is going to be the cause for the downfall of the kingdom. This peacekeeping came to be known as Vidura Niti. It is political science. He told Dhritarashtra, the Pandavas did what you told them to do, to be in exile for 12 years, to be incognito for a year. You should give them what they've earned. That your son is being unfair. There's no equality here. It's a really lovely subject in Srimad Bhagavatam. Next year in our Chik and Setukai retreat in DC, we're going to be studying Vidura Niti. Dhritarashtra does not listen to that advice. And so what Rishi Vidura does is he leaves his dhanuhu, his bow and arrows, in that courtroom, and he leaves. He goes on a yatra that he's not going to take part. He doesn't want to be privy to this war. There's so much thoughtfulness to why he leaves his bow and arrow. He's going to travel in the jungle. He's going to need protection. But think, if he took his bow and arrow with him, the Kauravas may believe that he's joining the Pandava side, in which case they would have perhaps killed him. In a faith sense, when Rishi Vidura left, all of the punya in Dhritarashtra's court left also. All of the merit. Because Rishi Vidura brought that. Now, right now you're waiting. Where's the connection? I want you to reflect on this. Most of us are confused. It's called moha. What is the purpose of living? What am I supposed to do tomorrow? Should I dress up for Halloween or should I not dress up for Halloween? Moha. In our confusion, where do we look? We look to each other, but the person we're looking at is confused also. The person in the car next to you, your coworker, your spouse, your children, your parents. So that confusion is compounded. A present-day strategy is to hire a life coach, correct? person who can tell you about your goals, can tell you about your strengths. But remember that life coach is relying on their own experience. What if their experience is limited? What if their focus is capitalizing on your inefficiency? We are fortunate, every one of us, that in our confusion, we are not looking to each other to compound our confusion. We're not looking to a life coach who's trying to capitalize on us. We are guided by God. Gita is the direct words, the direct guidance of Bhagavan Krishna. And if we apply this, all of the confusion that is holding us back will go. Rishi Vidura, in a relative way, is that God, is that guidance. And when that's not applied, the fate of the Kauravas. When this is applied, the fate of the Pandavas. In the first month of our course, we focused on evolving. And we started with chapter 2, shloka 7. I should be consistent, so Adhyaya 2, shloka 7. And in this verse, the focal point, the focus was honesty. To be honest with ourselves if we want to evolve or not. Today, if someone was able to grant you enlightenment once and for all, but that means you have to sacrifice believing all of the pleasure that you can experience is real. That means you have to be independent of your family. Will you take it? Honesty. The next shloka we explored was in chapter 8, 24, where I shared we should follow the path of the sun and not the path of the moon. The path of the sun is independent, the path of the moon is dependent. And making this very tactile, those who follow the sun live by values, and those who live by the moon live by valuables. If you live your life based on valuables, your life will be too complex for you to evolve. It won't be possible. But if you shift to live by values, your life will become simpler. Simplicity is a prerequisite to evolve. We then went to chapter 13, verse 10. Vivikta desha sevitvam, which means that we have to come to enjoy our own company, to be in solitude, so we can think. When there's a lot of noise, it's hard to think, yes? This is creating space in our life to evolve. Like with traffic, if cars are too tight, people can't move between lanes, but if there's a little bit of a gap, you can get out of the slow lane into the faster lane. You need space. And finally, we went to chapter 4, verse 36, where Bhagavan Krishna tells Prince Arjuna that even if you're the worst person, you're the most devolved person, if you listen to what I'm saying, if you reflect on what I'm saying, if you practice what I'm saying, even you can be enlightened. This month, our focus has been on deciding. How do we decide what kind of person we want to be? How do we decide how to invest our money? How do we decide anything? And we started in chapter 18, verse 37. The focus was long-term. Pleasure in the beginning is easy, but in the end is hard. Peace in the beginning is hard, but in the end is easy. Long-term thinking, that's a factor in making a decision. Next, we were in chapter 4, verse 39, and this was about being careful. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. One who's careful is able to process all that's happening by inputting and outputting in an efficient, effective way. And we are also in chapter 4, shloka 34. I'm thinking long term. I'm being careful, but some decisions are too difficult, too subtle. What would the wise do? Having a wise person in one's life is a game changer. Those who don't have that wise person, their life is the same every day. But with that wise presence, your life changes. Prostrate, question, serve. Prostration is a form of respect. You open yourself. Questioning is a form of love, that you've put in your maximum effort to try to understand what happiness is. And you're ready for that guidance from one's guru. You've put in your effort. And seva, when respect and love come together, it's reverence. Serving one's guru is to become like the guru. Now, I'm highlighting the word like. It doesn't mean you become the guru. You become like the guru. See, if you become the guru, all of a sudden, that ego has found a new field. I'm going to compete against my guru. But if you become like the guru, you have all of the virtues of a guru, but you don't need that form or name. How beautifully Swami Tejomayananda repeatedly has shared, I'm not in his shoes, I'm at his feet. Swami Tejomayananda was the head of Chinmaya Mission, but he never felt that Swami Chinmayananda was not the leader, was not the light. I'm going to share one more framework to complete chapter 4, verse 34. When we are more introspective about what we have and who we are, we come to appreciate how privileged we are. Yes? Do any of you lack privilege? Do you lack the opportunity for education? Do you lack the opportunity to vote? Do you lack safety? And, I know most of you. I don't think any of us can't buy what we don't want. When one is aware of their privilege, they become an advocate then. An advocate to share the same privilege with others. If you introspect, you feel the privilege that you have more food than you'll ever need, you become an advocate for those who have less nutritious food or those who don't have food. And if you're not an advocate, if you're not engaged in advocacy, it's because you don't realize how privileged you are because you're not introspecting. Now let's extend that back to the shloka. Reverence, to serve the guru, you have to do the same work that she is doing, that he is doing. The same work. We can serve the guru in a passive way with finances, but remember, that's still passive. The active way to serve the guru is to do the same work, have the same aspiration. Okay? What would the wise do is learning how to think. Making decisions becomes super easy then. And the final shloka that we will study, applied Gita in deciding, we are in the second adhyaya and we are on the 37th shloka. Chapter 2, verse 37. Everyone is there? Please repeat. Hato va prapsyasi svargam. Hato va prapsyasi svargam. Jitva va bhokshase mahim. Jitva va bhokshase mahim. Tasmad uttishta kaunteya. Tasmad uttishta kaunteya. Yuddhaya krita nischayaha. Yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. Bhagavan Krishna tells Prince Arjuna here, Hatova, if you die, prapsyasi svargam, you will gain, you will go to heaven. You have to understand the context of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Where is this happening? In the battlefield, right? Kurukshetra. Prince Arjuna is a warrior. In front of him, all around him are warriors, so that terminology has to be used. Imagine this was a cooking show. Platinum chef, a new cooking show. Then what will be shared is if your food is burned, you still tried your best. And if your food is not burned, then you win and you get $10,000, right? It's just a different terminology for that context. The implication of what Bhagavan Krishna is sharing here is, if you lose, you will gain heaven. In our lives is, if you've made the wrong decision, you will learn from that wrong decision. Clear? And I'm consciously not using the word mistake. If you're following along with these pointers on how to make a decision, you're consciously, intentionally making these decisions, and you made the decision, it was the wrong decision for the context, but you're learning from that decision, so really, was it the wrong decision then? If you're growing, if you're evolving, where's the wrongness in that? Correct? And this is such a lovely first quarter because you stop being afraid of trying then. You separate sorrow from failure then. Because every experience you have will help you to grow. Okay, I'm going to share a different story with all of you. There's a famous Chinese painting where 3 rishis, they look like you. They're all tasting vinegar. Before I continue, how many of you know the story I'm about to tell? Okay, just a few of you. The first person who tastes this vinegar has a sour look on his face. The second person to taste this vinegar has a bitter look on his face. And the third person to taste this vinegar has a sweet look on his face. These are the 3 philosophers of China. And those are Confucius. Confucius's message was that living is difficult. So one is soured by living. The second, and I say China in quotes here, is Gautama Buddha, whom we all know as an avatar of Bhagavan Narayana. He felt that living was bitter. Dukkha is everywhere, yes? And the third philosopher is Lao Tzu, and he facilitated Taoism. One of the main teachings in Taoism is to learn from your past. And if you learn from your past, all that happens to you is sweet. That's Swarga, correct? I really like that message. In our happy hour senior class, we're actually studying a book called The Tao of Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. It's a cool book. The second quarter, Jitva va bhokshase mahim. If you win this war, bhokshase, you get to enjoy. Enjoy what? Mahim. Mahim means the earth, means the whole world. Bharata Varsha, that is the land of India, is the biggest country in the world during this time. And if Prince Arjuna wins, then he gets to enjoy all of that. The implication for us in this quarter, some context is needed. Prince Arjuna has shared that he's not going to engage in being a warrior. And Bhagavan Krishna tries to share otherwise, tries to convince him otherwise in 3 ways at 3 levels, okay? You'll learn more about this as the course goes on, but Bhagavan starts with the highest. He says you should engage in being a warrior by knowing vastness. Did you catch that word? Vastness means infinity, Brahman. Prince Arjuna, if you know infinity, then is anyone born? Is anyone dying? Is anyone your relative? And the answer to all of this is no. So engage in being a warrior. Prince Arjuna doesn't get it, just like that's a tough message for us. So Bhagavan Krishna comes down and says, Prince Arjuna, you should engage in being a warrior. No change. He says that we're constantly changing. We went from being young to being an adult to being old. We'll die and we'll be young again. Bodies change like clothes change. So he keeps highlighting all is changing. So Arjuna, this war is simply a catalyst for change. So engage in being a warrior. Okay? Prince Arjuna doesn't tune into that either. So the third, and this is like an undergraduate message. Then you have your master's and PhD. The undergraduate message is know your responsibility or know responsibilities. You are a warrior. You are the best warrior on the Pandava side. So you need to fulfill that responsibility. And if you do, you will enjoy. Whenever we try, don't we feel good about ourselves? All of those who ran the half marathon last month, don't you feel good that you tried? Even if it took you 3.5, 4 hours. All of those who tried the silence retreat for the first time, don't you feel good that you tried? Whenever you try, bhokshase, you enjoy. When you don't try, that's when you don't enjoy. And I think I shared a thought about this recently. The pain of pushing forward is less than the pain of giving up. So in this first line Bhagavan Krishna is sharing is, you decide and you're wrong, you learn. You decide and you're right, you enjoy. So decide. Third quarter, tasmad uttishta kaunteya. Tasmad, therefore, uttishta, stand up. Where is Prince Arjuna right now? He's sitting with his head on his hand. So he's saying, stand up. You are the son of Kunti. And I really like how this name is highlighted here. How many of you generally know about Devi Kunti? You know some details about her. If you can think about the people who have had the hardest life in the Mahabharata, her name is there too, correct? Devi Kunti is one of them. Devi Devaki is another one of them. And Bhagavan Krishna is trying to show Prince Arjuna, your life has not been as hard as hers. And she keeps moving, isn't it? At no point has she slowed down or stopped her life. And Bhagavan Krishna also knows that she even knows that Karna is her son now, correct? Imagine how hard that would be. You know, when Vyasa pulls at Shuka, it's light for us because he's trying to express love. If your kids are older and they fight with each other, it hurts you that they're not being nice to each other. In the case of Mother Kunti, they're trying to kill each other. Just try to visualize that. But she keeps moving, and that's what Bhagavan Krishna is telling Prince Arjuna, that you need to keep moving. Indecision is stagnation. How many of you would describe yourselves as indecisive? You're deciding if you're indecisive right now. I feel that we're more indecisive than we realize. We are more indecisive. The alarm clock, do I get up or do I not get up? The yellow light, do I go through or do I not go through? Green olives or black olives on my pizza? We are more indecisive. Did you know that only humans can engage in adharma? Stones, plants, and animals can only engage in dharma. Dharma means they just follow their responsibilities. There's a sort of decision and then responsibility that they follow through with. Only humans can engage in adharma. And adharma is, I'm indecisive, so I'm irresponsible. Yeah. So Bhagavan is sharing here is follow dharma, be decisive. Yudhaya krita nishchayaha. You need to fight. And you need to fight with nishchaya. Samshaya is what the mind does, doubts. Nishchaya is what the intellect does, it decides. Samshaya means there's a shade there. There's a confusion. Nishchaya means there's a clarity there. There's a confidence. Our responsibilities, the more we know about them, the more easily we decide that we have to move forward, that we have to be dynamic. Swami Tejamayananda, in his chapter on Dharma, or his teachings on Dharma, says, Dharma is a value system. Once you have a value system in place, it becomes much easier to follow Dharma. But if you don't have a value system, then there's no, when you drive in the snow, if there weren't guardrails, if there weren't those shiny markings on the road, how will you know what lane you're in? And so what people do then, when I drive to Cleveland, let's say, if there's a big truck, I'll just shadow that truck. Right? That becomes, what would the wise do? That truck is wiser than me when it comes to driving in the snow. So I follow that then. So the value system we have is like those lights. Shared in different terms, training has to be tested. When you have all of this decision-making that's going on, then you have to test that by following that, by implementing that. And if you're wrong, you learn. You go back to training. If you're right, that becomes your truth. You keep on doing that then. Training, testing, truth. In this shloka, in this chapter, this is almost a mile marker of this chapter where Bhagavan has finished saying no vastness, no change, no responsibility. He finishes this teaching and then shifts his thought process further on in this chapter. So this is a lovely shloka for us to complete our thoughts on applying Gita and deciding. You lose by not deciding. You win by deciding. Together. Hato va prapsyasi svargam, jitva va bhokshase mahim, tasmad uttishta kaunteya, yudhaya krita nishchayaha.
If you enjoyed what you heard or want to learn more, share this episode with a friend or find us online at facebook.com/cmniagara. For those on the journey of self-development, Chinmaya Mission Niagara provides a community forum for seekers to listen, reflect, and contemplate. This podcast is produced by the Young Adults of Chinmaya Mission, an international nonprofit working to transform individuals through the knowledge of Vedanta. Until next time, inspire, love, be.